Hi all, my name's Ollie, this is Simply Stitchy. In today's video it's a quick one. We're going to look at how to oil and thread a Janome MyLock 634D. Without further ado, let's get into it. This machine has been in storage for a while, so the first thing that we're going to do before we do anything else is give it a clean and a really good oiling. But before we start messing about with the insides, we're going to turn the power off. To get to the inside of the Janome 634D, what you do is pull on this little hole and just lift that front plate out of the way. This one will also open, you just push it to the side. Okay, with your lint brush, what you want to be doing is just getting all the lint and accumulated dust out from underneath your feed dogs and from out of where the loopers live down here. Overlockers or sergers do tend to create quite a bit of lint because of the way they work. As they cut the fabric as it's coming through, you'll get all sorts of debris down here, so it's really important to clean out your overlockers every time you use them. The next thing is we're going to oil the overlocker. Now, as always, I recommend sewing machine oil. It'll work just the same on an overlocker or a serger as it will on a normal sewing machine, and it's actually designed for sewing machines and sergers, so it won't do any damage. Now, the first oil port is right up here, and you just want to put a little dab of oil in there. Now, I particularly like this style of bottle because of the spout at the top. It just makes it a lot easier to get into little nooks and crannies to oil. The next places that you want to put some oil is down here. I don't know if you can see that, but right in the body of the machine down there, you want to put a little bit of oil, and also here. Oops. You just want to put there, and there's another little spot which is right down the very bottom, right there. We've done the looper area. Now we're going to move to this side of the machine. I'm going to zoom you in so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Oops, wrong way, sorry about that. Okay, so right at the very front here you've got two oiling ports, and you need to put a little bit of oil in each of those. You're also going to want to put a little bit of oil in. There's two holes at the back of the machine, so I'll just zoom you back out just a little bit. Oops, sorry, I always get that the wrong way around. There, right here. Here's one. Oops, there's one, and there's the other. And you want to put two little bits of oil in both of those. And you also want to put a little bit of oil on this bit down here. If, like me, your overlocker's been in storage for quite some time, just give it a little bit of a quick dust on the outside as well, just to make sure you're not going to get anything collecting in the working part, so that you don't get any jams. And just use a soft cloth for that. You can also use a soft cloth to mop up any excess oil if you've managed to spill it like I did on the back of that. Right, now the next thing is to thread it. Now, with overlockers, particularly overlockers of this age, they have a set threading sequence that you have to do in order. Now, if you've bought your overlocker new, you'll find that it's already pre-threaded, and all you really have to do is tie your new thread to the one that's already in the machine and just let the machine pull it through. Yeah, I haven't got that luxury, so I'm going to have to do this one from scratch, and I thought it'd be a great idea if you watched me do that, so let's get into it. And what I'm going to start with first is this one, the lower looper. With overlockers, you'll usually find that you've got the 4 thread stands in a design like this, or they'll be parallel, so you'll have 4 in a line. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your cone of thread on the spool pin that's on the far right and right at the back of the machine, so it's the closest one, it's right there. And then what you're going to want to do with thread is, I hope my hands don't get in the way too much, put it through this little hole on this guide at the back, pull it through, and then what you want to do is put it over the top, so you've got that kind of shape. And then what you do is you bring it back through to the front, through the hole next door, like that. Now this is probably where you'll find that the tweezers that came with your machine are really useful, because you can use them to grab the thread and pull it through, like that. Now as we're threading this lower looper, you'll notice that there's colour coding dots on this bar that goes across the top, and those colour codes match the colours as you go through the machine. So what we're going to do next is, using the dial that's green like the dot, we're going to just push the thread into the tension discs and just pull it down gently. Now I'm going to need to reposition you a little bit again so that we can see what's going on at the bottom of the machine. For this next bit, what we need to do is open this front cover. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pull it and pop it down like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is bring the thread down through the tension discs. We're going to pop it in this little hole there. While we're in this part of the machine, you notice how you've got this little diagram down the bottom, and what it's doing is it's coloured in green the path that we've just followed. So this bit's the tension disc, and there's the thread coming down this groove and into this little guide here. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go across that side of the machine, and we're going to carry on following the thread path that's marked on here, and we're going to line up with the little green dots that are also throughout the machine. So the next place to take the lower looper thread is through this little guide here. Try to get it in there without pulling it out of that one. Oops, and I've dropped it. There you go, like that. So now what we're going to do is, there's a little thread guide down here. It's got a green mark on it, which is the next one that we're going to go through. This is what we've done so far. We've gone down through this bit, through that bit, which is here, and now we're going to go through this bit, like that. The next guide is this one right here, so we need to put the thread through that too. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated, because what we're going to need to do now is access some thread guides that are actually in this bit. And to do that, what we need to do is get the lower looper, which you'll see popping out in a minute, to its rightist, or its rightmost position. And I'm going to just grab hold of this thread a minute to keep it out of the way. And what I'm going to do is just turn the hand wheel until that lower looper, here it is, pops out and goes as far right as it will go. When you've got this as far right as it will go, what you're going to need to do is this little bit here, the lower looper thread guide, number 1 it's called in the manual. It's the one directly underneath the lower looper. Pop your finger under it and just push it up. Now what you'll see has happened here now is you've got another little thread guide with a little green bit on it. That is the lower looper thread guide number 2, and you need to get the thread through that. The next bit, I don't know if you can see it from where you are, but there's this little hook right there. There's the lower looper and there's the little hook. And the next thing that you're going to want to do is pop your thread through that little hook. Now what we're going to need to do is hold the thread in one hand and turn your balance wheel until you get that needle down to its lowest point, and this bit down here will click back to where it was originally. Right, having got that back where it should be, what we need to do now is bring that lower looper back round so we can see it. And now what we need to do is thread the lower looper. Next one that we're going to thread is this one, the upper looper. Now the thread for the upper looper sits on the back right spool pin, and it comes down this thread guide and through the area on this metal guide that's marked with a red dot. As before, you come through this hole, go back over and come back through this hole from the back. The next thing that you want to do is make sure it goes through the tension discs that match the red dot and bring it down the front of the machine. In a similar way to the lower looper, what we're going to do is we're going to follow the red dots. So the thread that we've just put through these tension discs, we're going to put through the other side of this tension disc to match the red dot, and then you'll notice that on the thread diagram it goes through this bit, and then there's like a little hook just below it, which is this one here. So we're going to go through that one. Ooh. Like that. And keeping an eye on where the red dots are, you'll see there's a little bit here with a bit of red paint on it. That's the next one that we need to go through. And you can see it on the diagram right there. Now, the next thread guide we're going to go through is this sneaky little one right there. It's like a little loop of wire. Oops. Now we're going to turn the balance wheel so that we can get that lower looper out of the way, and then we're going to put this through the upper looper. Oop. And then, oop. Just going to move that to the back. The next thing that we need to thread is the right needle. Now the thread for the right needle is here. It's on the front left spool pin. For this one we're going to be following the blue dot, and like before the thread comes through this hole from the back, over the top, and through this bottom hole from the back. So you've got it like that, and then you just pop it through the tension discs. The first blue dot is here, so we're going to go underneath that thread guide, and if we look at the diagram back down at the bottom of the machine, it shows that the thread goes underneath this thread guide like that, and then oops, through to the other side. The next one that we're going to go through is right here, and you want to put it through the hole on the right, oops, which is there. And then, just the same as on sewing machines, there's a little wire thread guide right at the top of the needle bar, which you need to just pop it behind. When you've got it behind the guide, the next thing to do is thread it through the needle. There. The serger threads from front to back, so if you're going to be using one of these, you're going to need to put this in from the back. which is a little tricky on this. The last thing that we need to do is thread the left needle. And to do that, you put the cone of thread on the back left spool holder. In the same way as we've done previously, you bring the thread through from the back, through the top hole, back over the top of the thread guide, and through from the back at the bottom hole. And then you put the thread through the tension discs. Now, although we're going to be following the orange threading guide on this left needle, you'll notice that there aren't any orange dots, but on the thread path down here on the diagram you will see an orange coloured thread. And what we're going to do, in much the same way as we did with the right needle, we're going to come underneath this guide here and through to the other side of the machine to this guide, over on the other side. Whoop daisy, like so. Just give it a little bit of a pull. This time on this guide we're going to go to the left hand side, and then once again that little bit of wire on top of the needle bar, and then it's just a case of threading the needle. It's front to back, so if you're going to be using your gadget, you push this in through the needle from the back and then just pull the thread through. All we have to do is see if we can get it to work. I've got a piece of fabric here. It hasn't got a particularly straight edge, but it doesn't matter with an overlocker. Let the overlocker start stitching before you put the fabric under the foot. And then to finish off, pull it round and under the blade, and it chops it for you. See? And that's how you oil, clean and sew. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Why not check out some of my other videos coming up in these links any minute now. And you can also subscribe to my channel, and that way you'll get to see the other videos coming up in this series on overlockers and sergers. I hope to see you back here for the next video. In the meantime, whatever you're sewing it with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.